Vicky and friends of the Bond Room Unlocked. My name is Watson, James Watson. You probably know me as J.T Watson from the community. I've been brought in today to share some intel, specifically about Goldeneye and Bond returning to the big screen after 6.5 years of being away following License to Kill.
Hey there, Jot Wants. Or is it Jaws Knots? J.T Watson is a Bond anagram guru for the Shaken and Not Stirred Facebook group, and I'm so pleased to have his input on this week's edition of the Bond Room Unlocked as we turn the key on my 26-year-old Bond collection and Goldeneye.
In London, April's a spring month.
Oh, yeah? What are you, the weatherman? If for crying out loud, another stiff-ass Brit, your secret codes and your passwords.
1995, a great year for films. Crime drama Heat, starring Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. Post-western The Quick and the Dead, starring Russell Crowe and a very young Leonardo DiCaprio. Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman in the neo-noir thriller Seven. And epic historical war film with Mel Gibson as William Wallace, Braveheart. But for me, there is one film that captured my attention more than most that year. The return of Bond after a 6.5-year hiatus. With Goldeneye.
No more foreplay. Name's Bond. James Bond.
This film cemented my obsession with our super spy, and after 4 viewings at the cinema on release, the collecting of all things Bond began. Granted, I can't say that I wasn't over the moon with Brosnan's signing, as he's a favourite of mine from his Remington Steele days. And of course, Bond is unfinished business for Brosnan, who was offered the role in 1987 after Roger Moore's departure. But as we know, he was tied into contracts with NBC for Remington Steele, and his chance at that time passed him by.
I became an actor and kind of came into my life in '86 and went out of my life in '86 when I was doing Remington. Came back in again. Yeah. So it's always come with a certain drama doing this role.
Yeah, that must have been terrible when you offered it the first time and then it was sort of snatched away from you. I mean, that must have been, I would have thought, quite crushing, wouldn't it?
That was a bit of a pisser, I must say. It really was, because I was living in America and I'd been there for 4 or 5 years, and they offered the job, and my late wife and I planned to come back to England. We put the children into boarding school here, and then at the last moment, the 11th hour, they just wouldn't let me out of the contract.
That is awful.
Yeah.
And then, because you were made to go back to Remington Steele, now they did like 6 more, didn't they? Or 7 more or something?
Yeah, they picked it up for 6. It was going to be 22, but they did 6 and cancelled the show.
What a nightmare.
So.
Well, I think it was worth the wait. Goldeneye is my 3rd favourite Bond film. It's not the best, it's not Brosnan's best, but it does hold nostalgic memories for me. They struck gold with this film, the rekindling of a franchise and the merchandise that came with it to boot.
The lead up to promote Goldeneye happened before I was a fan, but just think back to some of the great promotional materials and teaser posters they made for this film, such as the You Know the Name, You Know the Number teaser, featuring Brosnan with a simple black and white background. Then, of course, Bond pointing his gun straight out of the poster, gold on black, there is no substitute. Lastly, let's remember that teaser trailer. Were you expecting someone else? Bond is back, Bond is Brosnan, and Bond looks good.
expecting someone else?
Last year celebrated 25 years of the release of Goldeneye, and one of the more recent items that I've obtained and that I want to share with you today is this 25th anniversary Silverleaf stamp by the Royal Mail, which is the UK Postal Service. It comprises of 2 items: a card which gives you the breakdown of the film's plot with Pierce Brosnan as James Bond on the right hand side, and then on the reverse of the card you get the Goldeneye 25th Anniversary Certificate of Authenticity, and it is issue number 361 out of 1995, issued on the 21st of November, and it is one of the Royal Mail stamp and collectible pieces that they occasionally do. It also comes with an envelope which is very eye-catching. It's got the 007 logo across the bottom for Goldeneye, and then we have one of the Goldeneye stamps in the right hand corner.
My personal first experience with Bond overall was actually Goldeneye, its first few minutes, that amazing pre-title sequence. It just had so many spectacular parts to make me a fan for life and really reignite the passion of a lot of Bond fans in 1995.
I totally agree. I'm sure the pre-title sequence is classed as one of the many iconic starts to any Bond film. Now, Brosnan has his lovers and his haters, and you guys know where you sit with this, but for me, he embodies a 007 who is charming and super cool. Remember, he drives a motorcycle off a cliff and catches a pilotless plane with big explosions behind him. He ejects from the Tiger copter at the very last minute before it blows to pieces. And of course he straightens his tie whilst demolishing half of St. Petersburg in a tank. Anyway, what are your thoughts, JT, on the pre-title sequence?
This pre-title sequence has just so many amazing things to talk about. It's got the beautiful aerial shots of the dam as the plane flies in, the huge bungee jump stunt to start things off strong, the great shot of Bond's eyes as he lasers himself into the facility. Just a close-up, we don't even see his full face yet. And then, of course, dropping into the stall, upside down, to deliver a great first line.
Beg your pardon? Forgot to knock.
Then a second 00 agent makes his appearance, 006, Alec Trevelyan. His introduction is almost as good as Bond's in this film.
I'm alone. Aren't we all?
Sean Bean was a great choice to play 006, even though at times his accent can be a little forced. He did actually audition for the role of 007 as well, but of course Brosnan got the part. Directors felt that he was far more suited as being Bond's friend and fellow agent 006 Alex Trevelyan.
Finally, we have that fantastic escape from the facility, a crazy motorcycle jump, free-falling into an airplane, and the heroic getaway over explosions to wrap up just the pre-title sequence of Goldeneye.
Yes, and all of this is just in the first 10 minutes. What a ride. One thing that this PTS does actually showcase is the sheer talent of the stunt teams used in these films. Wayne Michaels for the bungee jump, Jacques Manuit for the motorcycle stunt, and BJ Worth for the skydive. The unsung heroes. Now, the purpose of this channel is to take the items in this Bond room and relate them to the films that we know and love. If you have enjoyed this brief look at the Goldeneye pre-title sequence, then give it an MI6 stamp of approval and click on the notifications below. And don't forget to knock. Just subscribe and stay in the loop with any further missions. You can also find me on Facebook and on Instagram, and catch me co-hosting on SpyMovieNavigator.com, cracking the code of spy movies with Tom Pizzotto and Dan Silvestri. Check out our most recent podcast where we interview location blogger Johannes Eklund of JamesBondLocations.com. I'd like to thank J.T. Watson for joining me today and giving his valued opinion on Goldeneye. You can catch J.T. on his Facebook page, James Bond 007-fans. Please give him a shout. So guys, I'd like to thank you for joining me today in the Bond Room Unlocked.
I'd like to thank Vicky for having me this week and showcasing another great Bond item. That's something I might like to stick in my collection.